All right, I think we shall get started. Awesome. So let's kick this off. So, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Jen Harris, and I am the prevention coordinator for South Bay Prevention with Behavioral Health Services. As you can see on the screen, we are going to have a wonderful workshop today by Melissa Estelle. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be tough. So, we are going to figure out the sign in process for everyone. Um, However, in the meantime, everyone should have received an email with a reminder, and it should have had a pre-test link for you. Additionally, Growing Prevention is an online workshop series via Zoom that is designed to develop substance abuse professionals, community members, elected officials, law enforcement agencies, and parents, and honestly, generally anyone who is interested in participating to help them enhance their careers, their communities, and their homes through education, connection, and resources. And the workshops are sponsored by Behavioral Health Services. They are in partnership with MAD California, the Asian American Drug Abuse Program, the Los Angeles County Friday Night Live Partnership, and also South Bay Communities Creating Change. So with that, we have Melissa Estelle today, and she is going to be doing a workshop titled The Power of Community. And so I am going to read her bio. So Melissa Estelle is a senior program specialist at MAD Southern California, where she has worked in impaired driving and underage drinking prevention for almost 4 years. She earned a master's in public health at the University of Southern California with an emphasis in health communications and a bachelor's in arts and science, community and culture at the University of California, Los Angeles. Melissa is passionate about collaborating with other prevention professionals and engaging youth in creative ways to be positive influences for their peers and family. In her spare time, she enjoys crafting, listening to podcasts, and making her friends laugh. And she definitely is hilarious. So I am going to turn it over to Melissa, and let me stop share. Melissa, take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone who's here today. I'm always willing to support Jen and her team as we cross paths a lot, doing this prevention work. So I'm sure, I've connected with many of you who are on today, and hopefully you'll learn something new, but just reinforce, what we as a community can do to prevent underage drinking and impaired driving. So we are from MAD California. We have representatives all throughout the state. I know a lot of you are from LA County, but just know if you want to connect with MAD personnel, we're all over the state. So most of you have probably heard of MAD before, but our mission is to end drunk driving, help fight drug driving, support victims of this violent crime, and prevent underage drinking. So we do a lot of different things throughout the community. So just a brief overview. Founded in 1980, we're going into our 40th year, which is amazing. We've cut drunk driving deaths almost in half, but there's still more work to do because unfortunately people still lose their lives to this preventable crime. And MAD stands for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You'll hear people say against drunk drivers or something like that, but just know that we're against the choice, not against individuals. As individuals, right, we all make mistakes, but we can educate ourselves, we can make the right choices after learning from our mistakes. So we are against that choice. And we're also not against people who choose to drink alcohol, often a common misperception. We're not a prohibitionist organization, but we just don't want people to get behind the wheel impaired. So if you're over 21, celebrate, have a good time, but again, be responsible, plan ahead, and always have a way to get home safe, whether that's a designated driver or Uber app, Lyft, whatever your favorite choice is. We just want you all to get home safe. So what does MAD do? First and foremost, we provide services to victims of drunken drug driving crashes. So we do have a 24-hour hotline, 877-MAD-HELP, any day of the week and time of the night. If you can call, something's just happened, or even if it's been some time and you need someone to talk to, we have trained volunteers available, and they'll talk you through and get you connected to a local volunteer or victim advocate in your area. And we also lobby for strong drunk driving laws. So what does that mean? In recent history, of course, you guys may remember the shift for the drinking age, right? From 18 to 21. Now, of course, what does that have to do with drunk driving, right? We're just preventing our youth from making that choice before they're ready, before their brains are equipped to make responsible decisions. You'll also know recently that there's been an effort to have 0.05 BAC as the legal driving limit. Of course, still in California, we have 0.08, and as an organization, MAD supports that federally. But if a state does want to support a stronger drunk driving law like 0.05, we're going to support them in doing that. So those are just some of the examples. And first and foremost on our agenda these days is an ignition interlock device. And we want that for all offenders. What does that mean? That means no matter what their blood alcohol level was, no matter if this is their first time or their fifth time, we want them to get a device installed on their vehicle that they'll have to blow into and be sober to start their vehicle. It's shown to reduce drunk driving crashes and, of course, reduce those repeat offenders because they're more likely to drive on a suspended license. This at least gives them their license back. They can go wherever they need to go, but they have to have that device. And moving on, of course, we want to protect our youth, and I'll get into that a little bit more. We have great underage drinking prevention programs for you to all take advantage of as parents and, of course, as professionals. And our number one partners in this fight, of course, law enforcement agencies. So all over, we love to connect with them and support them in their efforts, not just to keep our roads safe, but to protect those youth as well. So I mentioned our victim services, again, 100% free of charge. Victims and survivors of drug driving, and of course, underage drinking. All services are provided free. We have victim advocates that provide a variety of support, including court accompaniment. We have grief counseling. We can refer them to different resources like therapy. And we do have a monthly support group, which has gone on to Zoom, and it's been amazing. So we're excited to still be able to provide that service for people who need it. And again, I mentioned that 24-hour helpline, 877-MAD-HELP. All right, so without further ado, I do want to share a firsthand perspective of why we do the work that we do. So I'm really grateful to have one of our amazing, dedicated, passionate volunteers on this call with us. So Annette Barrera, welcome. Hold on, Annette? Can everyone hear her?
No.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Good.
Okay. So we're good.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shaky connection, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, hi. I am Annette Barrera, and unfortunately, I am a victim of a drunk driver. This happened about 7 years ago when I was 18. I was crossing the street and I I got hit
Annette?
by a drunk driver at 45
Annette, can you
miles
hear me?
an hour.
Annette, your
Our connection isn't very great.
I like to make jokes or I like to make jokes. I know how to take a hit. And it's yeah.
Our connection isn't very great. I have you on mute, and then I can put you on speaker here. Play. Okay. Go ahead, Annette.
Hello.
Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Annette Ferreira, and I am a victim of drunk driving. When I was 18 years old, I was crossing a street and I was struck by a drunk driver at 45 miles an hour. I like to make the joke that I can take it, and I hopefully can continue to show that. And through my advocacy and the work I do here with Matt, I would like to show that a victim can be much more than just someone who got hurt. So again, thank you for coming here and listening to me. As I said, I was struck by a drunk driver 7 years ago, and that greatly damaged everything that moment in my life. I was immediately put into a coma for 71 days, 2.5 months. And after waking up from that coma, I had to learn how to be human again. And that was very humbling because I didn't know I had to fight with myself to be human again. And that was difficult to understand and to be able to work with. During my coma, I had brain surgery. I had brain surgery. They did surgery to place a device in my skull. I also had injuries, placed a filter within my thigh. I've had numerous other surgeries, and I've been fed up and more than anybody else would like to admit. That is a sad reality of my world, and it's unfortunate. However, I refuse to live with that being something that is going to stop me and not allow me to continue to be a successful and bright person. When I started to get back into school and get back into life, it was a lot of adjustment on my part. I had to learn how to walk again, learn how to eat, learn how to just function as a human. And that difficulty was not going to be lessened by hopeful thinking. It was a really hard work, and it's continuous. It doesn't get to stop for me, which seems a little bit unfair, but I have to live, right? I want to get into working with Matt because I feel like that has been a great part of my world and part of my life. It allows me to contribute to this fight that has impacted my own life personally. I am continuously speaking to individuals about how not to hurt someone like the way I was hurt. I love this education that Matt is providing, because if we don't know, how can we move forward and how can we grow? I really appreciate advocates like Melissa and anyone at the, I'm hearing feedback and it's, okay.
Sorry, Annette.
No, it's fine, it's fine. I'm just trying to get over that. I love advocates like Melissa and anyone else at our MAD organization. They continuously help provide resources and support through people who have to go through this ordeal that doesn't know how to get past such a devastation. I feel like with the partnership of MAD, it has greatly allowed me to grow and to move a little freer past what my injury was. I continuously speak at events MAD has. I help to provide information to the public, and I am endlessly trying to continue my fight and hopefully lessen or mitigate this crime, because it does not need to happen today in the world that we live in. I did go to college after many years of recovery, and that was fairly difficult. I do have injuries such as a traumatic brain injury, right hemi paralysis, and other long list of really small, not really useful things. But with those difficulties, I've had to learn college study. And I was able to do that with great effort, because I now have a 3.5 GPA in college, and I am very, very proud of that. I worked so hard for that. I am working towards a master's degree in addiction studies. I want to become an addiction counselor so I can help, once again, mitigate what this crime can cause and what this crime can do to people. We focus more so on the victim because, yes, they got hurt, but especially in my own history, it wasn't just me that got hurt. And that is something that needs to be understood with all of this. The ripple is grand when it comes to who is the victim. I, yes, got hit by a car, but my family, my parents, my sisters, my friends and family, they all had to struggle with that reality. I think that if I were to help this cause and be able to lessen the destruction of it, it would help very many people. Did I touch on everything, Melissa?
Yes, Annette, I know we're having technical difficulties, but you're amazing as always. Thank you, everyone, to listening to Annette. And she, just like the rest of us, is cooped up in the house. and she still wants to be a service. She still wants to be a resource. So you can request Annette or victims like her who are willing to share their story for another audience. And they really just appreciate the opportunity to help save lives. So thank you, Annette. A little round of applause. All right, so we have a message here, so I'm gonna try to figure this out. Please hold. Okay. So drunk driving today, as Annette kind of touched on, it's not something that needs to happen, not in our day and age of convenience, all the tools that we have. So most recently, last year across the nation, over 10,500 people lost their lives due to drunk driving. And this accounts for 29% of all traffic fatalities. So 1 in 3 are caused by a drunk driver. 1,069 of those fatalities were in our state of California, unfortunately. And just so you know, across the nation, every 2 minutes, someone is injured, and every 50 minutes, someone is killed. So it does still happen, and it's still an issue. Everyone may be wondering, oh, with everyone in the house, what does drunk driving look like during this time? And according to our CHP partners, yes, we are seeing drunk driving go down, but that just goes to show you that, people are the reason, so we are the cure. We can choose not to drive impaired, we can encourage others to make good choices, and we can raise our kids to know to make that best choice and not drive impaired themselves and never get in the car with somebody who's been drinking. So usually I like to ask, I don't know if we've got the function right now, but just think to yourself, what kind of car do you think this is? Make and model. So I'll tell you one of the most frequent answers we get. First is Ford, unfortunately. No offense to any Ford owners out there. But then we also hear Mustang, Camaro, right? Some sort of fast car, must have been. But usually we don't hear the right answer. So it's a 2008 Infiniti. I'm sure maybe one of you got that right. But how did it end up in that condition? So early the morning of March 30th, 2008, driver of this vehicle was dropping off a friend in Santa Monica. And we were actually able to get a little bit more of a backstory because a friend of this person ended up in one of our DUI programs. So she shared with us that he was actually out celebrating a new job that evening. They went to a Lakers game, went to a couple bars, and had a good time. And then after dropping off his friend, he accelerated to almost 80 miles per hour on Ocean Park Boulevard. Now, the posted speed limit was only 35 miles per hour, so he was definitely going way, way too fast. So then at 25th Street, the vehicle veered to the left onto that raised grass median that divides the streets, and it traveled some distance before crashing into the first of 2 large trees. And the first impact was so forceful that it cut the car in half and ejected him and his seat from the vehicle. Then the vehicle continued, struck a second tree, and came to a rest. So most people, when they hear about drunk driving collisions, somehow, it's a drunk driver that miraculously walks away unharmed. But this was not one of those instances. Although he was wearing his seatbelt at the time of the collision, he was killed instantly on impact. And this crash took place about a half mile from a local checkpoint. And I like to tell people that checkpoints actually aren't there to catch drunk drivers. I'm sure most of you have seen a checkpoint get set up in your neighborhood. There's accounts on social media, right, dedicated to letting us know where they are. But we appreciate people not sharing that information because checkpoints are proven to reduce drunk driving because people are less likely to do it if they think they're going to get caught. And had this gentleman passed through that checkpoint that night, sure, he would have gotten a DUI, he would end up in jail, and the process would begin, but he would have his life. and he would have a second opportunity to make the right choice, to maybe touch someone else and let them know, you know, you don't want to make the same mistake as myself. And blood tests show that his blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal limit of 0.08. A few more facts. Crashed into the tree at 82 miles per hour, and there were no skid marks on the pavement, indicating he didn't brake at that time. And the driver's seat landed 30 feet from the vehicle with the D-ring still attached. That's this whole seat and seat belt eject. I'm going to show some images of the collision just to warn everyone, but I want you to think of the people who are impacted by this type of collision, not just the driver who made that choice or any victims he may have killed or injured, but the people who respond to the collisions, paramedics, our highway patrol, fire, people in the hospitals who try to save lives. So all these collisions, they make a big impact on a lot of different people. So that's it going into our crash car exhibit. Some of you may have seen our exhibit around LA County, so now you know the car and the story that's behind it. So we use this vehicle, schools mostly, but checkpoints for local fire, police departments and different community events. Just a great conversation starter, especially for our kids about what can happen when you choose to drive impaired. So there's many things we can do to prevent a crash like this. Number one is don't drink and drive, or don't drive impaired, right? There's other impairing substances, especially with marijuana being legal in the state of California, but you can hire a car service, right? If you're feeling fancy, take a taxi, Uber, whatever your ride share is, phone a friend or a family member. I always tell people someone in your phone wants to see you home safe. So no matter if it's 3 a.m. and you're an adult, right? We're all adults here, and you have to call mom or dad. I'm sure they want to see you home safe no matter how old you are. So just make the right choice and plan ahead. Stay where you are, stay where you've been drinking. Just don't get behind the wheel. So just a word about drug DUI I briefly mentioned. Again, like alcohol, we don't have a position on whether or not it should be legal. It is now, so if you're 21 and over, right, recreationally, we're just asking you not to get behind the wheel because you can still get a DUI. Drunk driving, like drunk driving, is 100% preventable. We've served the victims long before these laws have gone into effect, and we will continue to do so. But we just want to clarify, in case there's any misconceptions now with the legalization, that you cannot drive under the influence. All right, so just moving into underage drinking. Many people may ask why MADD cares about that. But on average, 10% of our drunk drivers are under the age of 21, which 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when they shouldn't be drinking at all. Alcohol is the #1 drug of choice for our youth. Even with marijuana being legalized, it is frequently used by youth, but alcohol is just easier to get. More than likely, maybe the parents have it at home. You know, we don't think to lock things up like alcohol, but you just want to consider that plan. And teen alcohol use kills over 4,000 a year, and only 1 in 3 of those deaths is in a car crash. Children start thinking about alcohol as early as age 8. So as young as you may think they are, you just want to have that conversation with them first, and of course, continue having that conversation as they grow up and as they face new changes, new challenges, and all of that. And of course, 21 is that minimum age for alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, because the human brain is not fully developed yet until the mid-20s. So the last thing in the brain to develop is their judgment. As parents on the line, you know very well that you got to keep making sure that they make those good judgment calls, because just like anything else, they have to practice it to be good at it. So taking away the keys does not take away the risks. As I mentioned, 1 in 3 of these deaths is traffic related, but the other big portion you see there, 30% is homicide. Another 14% is suicide. Unfortunately, you know, mental health is a big issue now, and kids can cope with drugs or alcohol, and we want to make sure they have other tools. 9% for both alcohol poisoning and other poisonings. And then, of course, drownings, fires, and falls, many accidents just bad judgment calls, right, when kids are under the influence. And getting more specifically into California, underage drinking here in the state. So there were 503 alcohol attributable deaths under 21 in the year 2017. And that accounts for over 30,000 years of potential life loss. I was truly shocked when I saw that number, because one may think that 500 deaths is not a lot when there's so many other things that we can die from. But under the age of 21, we want somebody to have a full life, and that's what we're fighting for here. 125 traffic fatalities that included a 15 to 20-year-old driver with a BAC or blood alcohol concentration over 0.01. As you know, we have a zero tolerance policy law here in California and in the country, and any detectable amount of alcohol under the age of 21 affects the driver's license and they can get a DUI. So that's 20%, 26% of all fatal crashes for drivers 15 to 20 years old. And this is from the state report of the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. If you look up the 2018 state report, you guys can get these numbers. So I just wanted to show you alcohol use in the past month. That's something that we want to look at because we do want to show teens that not everyone's doing it, but as you can see, it depends on the age group. And it does change fast. So I talk mostly to high schoolers, but middle school is really where we need to talk to them. Elementary, I'm sure there's an age appropriate conversation to be had. So we want to make sure we're touching them at all levels. And I'm sure all of you on the call can help us do that, because the earlier they start drinking, the more likely they are to become addicted. And I'm sure many of you are in the treatment provider services. So you know very well what addiction looks like, what it can do to a family, to a society. 13 or younger, over 40% develop a dependence to alcohol later on in life, versus if they wait till they're 21 and older, less than 10% develop that dependence. So we have underage drinking prevention programs that can help with this issue. We have targeted for Power of Parents and Power of Youth. And right now is Alcohol Awareness Month, so we are keeping the conversation strong, especially with everyone at home. I know they're probably driving you crazy, but now is more the time than ever to have that conversation. Our Power of Parents workshop, we can do 15 to 30 minutes, whatever you have time for. You can do that by request. We also will be hosting a workshop on our social media as well at MAD California on both Facebook and Instagram. So feel free to like us and follow us and keep up to date. And Power of Youth as well, we're doing via Zoom by request to a group of youth. We want to equip them with the facts. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we want to make sure they know what the accurate information is. And why do we do this? Because 3 out of 4 teens say that their parents are the #1 influence when it comes to the choice to drink. They are who you go to for that important information. So we want to make sure parents have those tools to have the conversation. You guys see the handbook behind me. You can download that as well. I'll have the link later on in this presentation. And then Power of Youth, again, they believe everyone's doing it. So that puts the pressure on them to join in and be like everyone else. But in the reality, that's not what's happening. And we want to empower them to be the good influence. They can be the good influence for their peers, as well as their family members. Sometimes, you know, we share that it's the family that's been making the mistakes or the other adults. And we want to show them that they have the power to take a stand and show everyone what's the right choice. So if you're parents, definitely use this information, but if you're not, feel free to pass it along or set up a workshop for the people that you provide services to. We're just asking everyone to be the example, right? Say no to alcohol. If you're the driver, don't ride with an impaired driver, and provide non-alcoholic drinks at social gatherings. If you're having a party, which we're all not right now, right? But when we can, do so safely, right? Have those non-alcoholic drinks, make sure people don't drive impaired, have food and different things like that. And of course, support zero tolerance under 21, because should you provide the alcohol and the young person gets a DUI, they cause someone to lose their life, you can be held responsible as the adult. So the handbooks, we can deliver them if you want. We can mail them out. We have some, but you can also download those as well. mad.org/powerofparents. Feel free to download that. And we just want everyone to know it's more than a one-time conversation, right? So we're providing you some techniques. You can choose what parenting style works best for you, and we'll even help you handle some questions about your own drinking, right? History of drinking, that can be a tough conversation. You can also get your teen involved. We have a MAD Youth Advisory Board, or you can start a teen influencer group at your school. We help train these students as subject matter experts and help them design awareness campaigns, especially during the holidays. Right now, we had some things planned for the spring before prom and graduation. Unfortunately, it seems like that's all been affected for them. But we still want to have that message out there, so your teens can get involved, earn community service hours, and develop some leadership skills. Right, we're all going digital. We could use the help of the young people for sure. So let's see if this plays. This is about our Teen Influencer Summit, an annual event that we have every year, where the teens are the ones that lead the workshops. So they provide informational workshops for their peers about varying topics, drugs, alcohol, but also mindfulness, social media impact, and they run the show. So we just like to support them in that opportunity.
We're really excited to welcome you here. The idea behind this Teen Influencer Group is to bring together our community leaders and teen influencers like you. Most of you are leaders at your schools, and we appreciate that, because what this is designed to do is to really positively impact your knowledge base. It's also about empowering you to change your behaviors and your attitudes about underage drinking.
Just want to welcome you to Huntington Beach, welcome you to Surf City. Take this to heart and be the influencer and be the change maker in your community and with your friends.
My name is Amy Baldwin. I've been with MAD for a little over a year. I decided to join MAD when I found out that they were starting this teen group. It was meant to not only help encourage students to not drink at such a young age, but also show the dangers that comes behind it. So just a little bit more information about the workshops that you guys see here. We have vision boards, power of youth, and alcohol and drug prevention, and we'll also have mindfulness.
I think the connection between law enforcement and teens, especially on a day off like Saturday, to be able to talk to the teens and make decisions, because I think that's really what it kind of boils down to, is making a good decision.
My name is Zach Poodle. We're part of the group called Drug-Free Youth Leaders for Change.
Beyond the MAD Teen Advisory Board, we're here to positively influence our peers to make better decisions for their life.
What we're doing here today, we're making decision boards that will describe yourself the best way possible.
You believe you can accomplish this, you can do anything.
All right, so you'll see that's from video from 2018, but we have had it every year. Last year was at Applied Technology Center in Montebello. This year is at Torrance Memorial, the Hoffman Health Conference Center. So if you like more information about that, I can definitely send that your way. If you're in the Inland Empire, we are on Saturday, October 17th. And again, as I said, we're all throughout the state, so stay tuned if you're in the Bay Area or San Diego, or you know people there. We definitely want to connect with them to collaborate. And of course, we've got a full calendar coming up through April and May at MAD California on both Instagram and Facebook. We have virtual workshops. We'll be having interviews with our experts, including a date that's not on here, 4/20. We have someone for the Marijuana Prevention Initiative, Facebook Live. So again, you can get all of that more detailed information at MAD California. So thank you.